Hello YouTubers and welcome to my channel. Today's video is a continuation of my last video. It's part 2 of a Saturday on the Motorcycle Grand Tour of Texas. First, let's start off with today's Bible verse out of Colossians chapter 4 verse 2. Devote yourselves to prayer, keeping alert in it with an attitude of thanksgiving. Prayer is just talking to God. God wants to hear from us. You can cast your burdens on Him. To recap the last video, I started in Arlington, Texas, headed out to try to make 7 tour stops on the Motorcycle Grand Tour of Texas. First stop was in Gladewater, Texas, about 130 miles from home. I hit 2 stops there, the museum and also the oil derrick, and then went on another 80 miles to the 3 states sign at the corner of Arkansas, Texas, and Louisiana. At that stop, I realized I'd lost my placard, the number that must be in every picture in order to make it official. So I decided to turn around and go back to Gladewater. It was on the way home anyway, to see if I could find my placard. All right, let's ride along here and see what happens. Okay, here I am pulling back into the downtown area in Gladewater. For full disclosure, this is actually a rerun of my first arrival here. In reality, when I came back the second time, I was still too upset to get any new video. Main differences is it's 3 hours later, the sun's at a higher angle, and the street's pretty much full of parked cars. So I park by the oil derrick and get off my bike and look around. Good news is there's not much wind this morning. So I walk around and look, can't find it anywhere. So I decide to start off in the way that I left this area, heading off to the next stop. And lo and behold, a quarter of a mile down the road, I found my flag face down on the opposite lane. I picked it up and resumed today's tour. I was still faced with a dilemma. It's now 3 hours later. I'm 300 miles into the tour, and I'm only 130 miles from home. I decided that I would not go back to the 3 states sign, but continue to go on and complete the remaining stops that I had planned for today. Okay, here we are at the next stop in Joaquin, Texas, the Flying G Motorcycle Museum. We're about another 85 miles down the road now. Joaquin is a small East Texas town located on U.S. Highway 84, very close to the Louisiana border. Joaquin may be small, but it's got a lot of character. The town was founded in the 1880s when the railroad made its way through Shelby County and sits right on the edge of the Sabine River. The population here is just under 900 people, but like most small towns in Texas, what it lacks in size, it makes up for in charm. You'll find friendly folks, quiet streets, and that old Texas feeling that's getting harder to find. It's a great place to take the throttle back a bit and enjoy the ride. The Flying G Motorcycle Museum is a treasure trove, tucked away in Joaquin, but packed full of history. The Motorcycle Museum showcases over 60 vintage motorcycles from across the decades. It's a private collection of Gary and Becky Gunter, who opened the doors to fellow riders and collectors with a love for 2 wheels and the stories they carry. You'll find everything here from classic Harley-Davidsons, Indian motorcycles, and even some rare European bikes that you don't see every day, some dating back to the early 1900s. It's not just about the bikes, though. The museum is full of old memorabilia, signs, riding gear, and pieces of motorcycle culture that span generations. The attention to detail here is incredible. Every bike has a story, and the Gunters are more than happy to share them. Whether you're into American muscle, British classics, or just love the history behind the machines, you'll find something that grabs your attention. Now we're arriving in Groveton, Texas, where we will be visiting the historic Trinity County Courthouse. It's a historic landmark that's seen over a century of East Texas history. Groveton is the county seat of Trinity County, and it's the kind of place where time slows down a bit. With a population of around 900 people, it's not a bustling metropolis, but that's exactly its charm. The town was founded back in the 1880s when the railroad pushed through this area, and it's been holding on to its heritage ever since. The name Groveton comes from the pine groves that blanket this region. We're right in the middle of the Davy Crockett National Forest. And the ride out here is beautiful. There are rolling hills, tall pines, and very little traffic. And here it is, the Trinity County Courthouse. This place has some serious character. The current building was completed in 1914, making it over 110 years old. Designated in the classic revival style, it's got those tall columns and symmetrical architecture that just screams early 20th century Texas justice. What makes the courthouse really special is its resilience. The original Trinity County Courthouse actually burned down twice. One fire in 1872 and again in 1906. But East Texans are nothing if not determined, and they rebuilt stronger each time. The 1914 version has stood the test of time and was restored beautifully in the early 2000s. It's listed on the National Register of Historic Places, and it still serves as a center of government for Trinity County today. Inside, you'll find original woodwork, mosaic floors, and a courtroom that feels like a trip back in time. All right, on to our next stop. Now we're approaching the Caddo Mounds State Historic Site, located on Texas Highway 21, just south of the town of Alto. This place is truly a hidden gem. Set among the rolling hills in East Texas, it tells the story of a sophisticated and advanced Native American civilization that lived right here more than 1,200 years ago. The Caddo people, part of the Hassani branch of the larger Caddoan culture, built this settlement around 800 AD. They were mound builders, creating ceremonial, political, and burial mounds that still rise from the East Texas soil today. This site was once a bustling ceremonial and civic center, complete with homes, temples, and public plazas. The burial mound, temple mound, and low platform mound you see today are just a small piece of what was once a thriving Caddo community that lasted here for about 500 years. One of the most striking features on the site is the replica of a traditional Caddo grass house, built using ancient methods. It shows just how advanced and well adapted these people were to their environment. Inside the visitor center, you'll find exhibits on Caddo pottery, tools, and cultural practices, giving you a deeper appreciation for the engineering and artistry of the Caddo people. Now, these folks weren't just hunters and gatherers. They were farmers, traders, builders, and artisans. They had a complex life, a strong community structure, and trade networks that reached as far as the Great Lakes and the Gulf of Mexico. But this story isn't just about the past. The descendants of the Caddo people still exist today, now known as the Caddo Nation of Oklahoma. They're active in preserving and teaching their culture, and many were involved in the restoration of this site after it was damaged by a tornado in 2019. This stop is a reminder that history is all around us, sometimes right off a quiet Texas highway. And when we take the time to stop and learn, the road gets even richer. Well, here we are at the last planned stop for today, the KOA campground outside of Rusk, Texas. This is the office/store. I arrived just after 6 p.m. and they had already closed. They did have a nice packet set out for me, including a map showing me where my site was located and all the information that I needed. They did have nice facilities, including restrooms and a shower facility. I got out, walked around, looked at the tent site they'd assigned me, and I decided that to get there, I'd either have to ride my bike off-road through some sandy, uneven areas or carry my gear. The temperature on the bike had been over 100 degrees most of the afternoon, and I was hot and tired by this time. And I was sitting there and I started thinking, my air-conditioned bed is 2.5 hours away, and I still have 3 hours of daylight left. So I left my camping gear packed up on the bike this day, hightailed it on back home to Arlington. Total mileage for this day trip, 704 miles. Technically, this completes 25 tour stops for me. So if all these are accepted when I upload them to the tour site, I will be an official tour finisher. Thanks for riding along with me today. Hope you enjoyed it. Ride safely, my friends.